Oh, sorry. That was my sister calling because today is my birthday, Lucy. This is our
I
45th episode of the year being 70 that you initiated upon your birthday almost a year ago to the month. And and you thought to do it with me. And we've been friends since we were 8, introduced to each other by our mothers who were actually friends. And today, the year of being 70 closes for me.
It's yes, well, happy birthday to you. 71st birthday. That's very, very impressive. I don't know if it's as big a moment as when you were 70, but it feels like a big moment. And yes, it is for you, the end of the year of being 70. It's a funny thing. It seems to have passed in a flash. How does the year
Yes.
of being 70 look to you now in retrospect?
The year of being 70.
Mm.
And then it was gone. I mean, I gave this big party around the corner, and here I am a year later. Um, it's been a good year, though. It's been a really good year. I
That's
think you and I agree that as long as we're still in business, we like our age, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean mine hasn't quite ended, but it's been a fantastic year. Really, really one of the best being 70. So I hope that
So for you, for whom this is still far away
oh
or
yes, that's
almost
a
there,
full,
it
full
is wonderful.
I know. Yes.
Yeah.
So looking back to your 70th birthday party, what were the sort of the ramifications, the outcomes of your birthday party? Did it have any um, things that you look back on and think that was special?
Way too much cake, way too much cake. And one of our neighbors, uh, our upstairs neighbor has her birthday tomorrow. So basically all the food that was left just went to her party. No, it was just lovely to have all the people in one room, which I'm not going to do at 71. 71 is kind of a strange age. It's like a primary number. I love primary numbers. I think that's interesting. But
Yes.
it's also, I feel 70 is a bit of a completion.
Yeah.
And now 71 is kind of, yeah, now the horizon is 75 or 80, which is actually just an age of my parents, not of me.
I know.
And
It's strange, isn't it?
and it'll come with, illnesses and losses. And so that is just true. That's
Yes,
just true.
yes, there's a certain acceptance we have to deal with. But it was funny, I was sort of so excited to be 70, and I was saying to a slightly older friend of mine, I get rather annoyed if I tell people I'm 70 and they say, "Oh, you don't look 70," because they're being polite or whatever. And I was saying, "Look, I want to look 70. I like being 70." And she's a bit older than us, and she said, "Yeah, I would like to be told I would like to be back at 72." And I thought,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
it, isn't it? Yeah, it's not like it stops here. We keep going, and yeah, how good will we feel about the oncoming years?
It will unfold. There's this couple in the Netherlands who do a astrological chart. And for me, when I bought kind of their basic chart, for me, it says I'm a paver of the way.
Oh, that's
And
lovely.
it does feel like that. Like I'm not so much an initiator. I don't create much, but I am a paver of the way. And now they say this year my theme is from deep self-acceptance, being the motivating force for others, being loyal, and create openings for new possibilities.
That sounds
And
incredibly accurate.
that is so moving because it is sometimes, I still think, oh, I ought to initiate things, but then I go, no, I am a paver of the way. I kind of see the new and then I help it along. So it feels very reaffirming to keep doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, we all have different roles, and I think that is still a kind of initiation, a kind of creativity. It's just, maybe slightly different from what the typical idea we have of, I don't know, the creator with the big idea or something. But, all the work you've done has been incredibly creative, it seems to me, and opening new doors and initiate. I mean, you do initiate things, absolutely.
But you know what is also pertinent to your other question, so interesting, is that in my 70th year, or my 71st year, because when you turn 70,
Yeah,
you go into your 71st year, I've actually acquired, or how do you say, made new friendships.
that's lovely. Yes.
And one of my new friends is such an initiator that maybe, when I compare myself to her, you go like, but everybody pales. She could initiate something every week, and she is such a visionary. But it is interesting to still at this age make new friends.
Yes. No. And are they younger friends or friends of your?
Yes, they're all younger. That's true. One with only 3 years, but the other ones are, yeah, they're in their 50s, maybe early 60s. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's great. I mean, no, I think certainly, friendships, relationships don't sort of stop and stultify when you get to our age. It's really important to and it just sort of happens if you stay busy, if you're out there
Yeah.
in the world doing stuff, you meet new
Yeah.
people. I think I've also found this last year that I've reconnected. I mean, and this is just sort of accidental. I've reconnected with old friends who I haven't been in touch with. And I don't know whether that's something to do. It could be to do with sort of talking about being 70 and perhaps kind of reminding people that I'm still here or something. But I for one reason or another seem to have reconnected with a few people, which is lovely too,
Mm,
which is very nice.
yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about being 71, and it just kind of came into my head, is it is now exactly 50 years since you were 21. I mean, I know that's an obvious thing to say. The
No, but I haven't thought of that.
is
That's
simple,
true.
but what? I mean, 21 was always, even though I think in my lifetime the legal age of adulthood went from 21 to 18. 21 is always still kind of like a 21st
Yeah.
party. 21st,
Yeah.
is still a big deal. So what was your 21st like, and how does it sort of feel 50 years later to look back on it?
Now, my 21st birthday was, I would say, spectacular. People still talk about it. Really, they do.
Amazing.
Because I turned 21 and my father turned 50. And then his idea was to combine our birthdays. And so people came to my parents' house and there were buses there. And we were
Wow.
bused to the north of the country where we have these islands and at ebb you can walk there. So
Wow.
everybody was given wellies, or maybe we brought our wellies, I don't know. And we all walked there, and then we had a huge meal, and it was so wonderful to mingle us at, around 21 with those around 50. It was a very memorable, wonderful birthday celebration.
Yeah, lovely. That sounds brilliant. Yes. I
Yeah.
don't actually think I did anything particularly big for my 21st. And I think one of the reasons was I'd been married just under a year at that point. And
I was
I know
so far from getting married. Is so married. Oh my goodness, you'd been married for a year, Lucy. Yes.
I know I got married when I was 20 and 2 months or something, I suppose. But what had happened in the meantime is that the economic situation in the UK was extremely tough in 1974, 75. So Rob, my husband, and I were living with my parents at Chelsea Square,
Oh, really?
and because he was looking for an academic post and could not find one in the UK and had applied to overseas ones. And we had, I mean, he was offered one in Nigeria, I think, which, and interestingly, Idi Amin, I think, was the president at that
No,
point.
no, because Idi Amin was of Uganda.
Oh, you got, no, that's what I mean. Sorry. Yes, wasn't I?
Oh, again, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
my total mistake. Yes, but then he was offered one in Australia, so which we took, and we knew that sort of on the 1st or the 2nd of January, we were due to fly out and go and make a huge to emigrate, basically.
Wow.
So it was a kind of yeah, it didn't feel like a time to sort of, have a huge celebration. I mean, I think I went out
Did
to,
you have like a goodbye party before you left for Australia?
not really, no,
Did you have a
no.
marriage? When you married, did you have a
Oh yeah,
party? So you had a party at 20.
the year before, yes, yes, no, we did. I think that had kind of blown out everybody's finances and everything.
Yeah.
Not that weddings were such a big deal as they are now. They seem to have turned into this extraordinary, huge, long kind of planned. I mean, we just, we got
Weekends abroad and pre-parties, and it's all a big production. Yeah.
yes, hen nights and hen weekends and stag
Yeah.
nights weekends, and yes, it's absolutely massive. So yes, no, we got married and we had an, a sort of afternoon evening reception, and that was it. And then we went off. But
Honeymooning.
we did, yes. Well, I think we went on our honeymoon the next day, and we went to Rome for a week for our honeymoon,
Oh, wow.
which was
Oh,
very.
wow. I'll be there next week.
Oh, will you?
I will.
What are you off to do?
I am off to do, I find something really spectacular. 10 years ago, Pope Franciscus published what he called Laudato Si, which is kind of a tractate about the earth and our relationship to it
Yeah,
and all of nature and how we should be take better care of it out of also the perspective of it being God's creation, so it being sacred. And so that is now 10 years ago. And the current Pope has called an assembly, a ecumenical assembly. And then someone I know, I've known him for 30 years or so, he is an amazing weaver of people. And he said, you need business people there too. And so there's now a delegation of 45 business leaders, which I don't consider myself to be, but I'm in that delegation. And we
amazing. You've
will
been
be
invited to the.
going to Castel Gandolfo and
Wow.
meet with, well, I'm not sure I will personally meet with the Pope, but he will be there and there will be lots of, I mean, it is the first ever conference. When you register for a conference, it's like, what is your title? And it says Mr., always Mr. first, then Mrs., then
Yeah,
somewhere Ms., which
yeah.
I find I am. But now it said Archbishop, Bishop, Cardinal. It's like somewhere Mr. Mrs. We're to the bottom of it. So I will be in Rome for 2 days and then have another day to kind of venture around Rome a little bit and come back.
Amazing. I mean, that's so impressive, Lisette. You've been asked to a Vatican conference, essentially. I mean, that's
It is very impressive. I find it very impressive myself too. And I
yes.
would probably not have gone, but I'm already in Italy for another, say, I think the new word for conference is also confluence. Kind of
Oh.
how can we flow together?
Mhm.
And this is about systemic investing. It's not just having an impact investment here and one here and one here, but how can we sense from the system and look at the system and go like, if we do this, then maybe something can fundamentally change and we can rethink like ownership or what a region needs, what would be really helpful in certain bioregions so they can attract young people again or regenerate their soil or regenerate their livelihood in any way. So, yeah, I
Oh,
have a wonderful week ahead.
yes, yes, you certainly have. That's very impressive. I'd like a full report of that next week.
Fortunately, we're still going until your birthday.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we've got a bit more time to catch up on that.
But
Well,
one thing you said, in 74, 75, the economy was in dire straits. And I got into a lovely conversation with a woman. We did not introduce ourselves, so I have no idea. I think, early 30s. I was buying tea from my favorite loose tea shop, Amanda, here in Amsterdam, and she was there too. And I asked, "What kind of tea do you buy?" And then she bought it for the girls at work. So I said, "What is work?" And she was in an ad agency, marketing and everything. And we just got to talk about life. And at some point she said, "Yeah, and then maybe I'll want children." So I asked, "Do you want children?" And then she said, "Well, maybe this is not a very good time to put children on this earth plane." And I can be a bit of an advocate of the life without children,
Yeah,
but I did
absolutely.
not go into my own tram rails. I said, when I look back, when I was younger, people were also contemplating, is this a good time to
True.
we had the Cold War,
Yeah.
we had
The nuclear threat.
Vietnam, we had the communist threat, we had first, the Club of Rome was in 72, so that was like the first ringing the bell for climate change and for, what we were taking from the earth and putting back in
Yeah.
garbage and pollution. And yeah, so it was
But I
actually
suppose when we
interesting.
were,
Huh?
yes, I mean, when we were that age, it was the first time anybody had that choice, really, to choose between having children and not having children,
Yeah,
in a sense. I mean, because of contraception,
yeah.
because of the, I
Absolutely. I
mean,
have a
obviously
whole
people had a,
chapter in my book about those pioneers, Margaret Sanger, and, crazy scientists who had been shunned by the academic world because their ideas were so far out. And they came with this idea that a woman ought to have choice. Yeah.
yeah,
I just saw this movie, which is another Annie Ernaux. I think we talked about the years once.
yes, we
This
did.
is about her younger years when she was a student, a literary student, and she becomes pregnant and she goes through wanting an abortion and it's illegal and doctors don't want to help her. And then actually a doctor pretends to help her and gives her injections and she puts those she injects herself and then she goes to another doctor and says it hasn't helped. And he said, well, that's actually to fortify the embryo. So,
Oh my
then
goodness.
in the end, and she tries it herself. It is really horrible, but it was so well done, and it was such a scandal for the woman, not the man. The man would completely
No,
go
no, no, no.
scot-free. It was such a scandal for a woman to have done it and then to become pregnant, and she is very certain she cannot care for this child, and she needs to do something else with her life. And
Yes.
that
Well,
was very, very much true. Yeah.
that was portrayed on stage in the years, and it was,
Yeah.
I remember it was very, very shocking, and people walked out because it was the way it was
Yeah.
dramatized was so powerful and painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was this? What was this film called?
I think it's called L'événement. L'événement,
Right.
the event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it? Did you see it in a cinema
No,
or on?
no, I saw it on, as I see all movies now. I never ever go to the cinema
No,
anymore.
me
It's
neither.
just, no, no.
So yes. So, was it a documentary or was
No,
it
no, no. It's a movie.
dramatized?
It's a movie
Right.
because I think she must have written about it.
Yeah.
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 No,
Fascinating.
but that, apropos of, yeah, us being able to decide. And still, when I went to get the pill, my mother was scandalized. My mother thought I was going to be a licked sandwich. That was her expression. An afgelikte boterham. You will be an afgelikte boterham. Nobody will want you once you've done
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
even friends of mine were kind of, wow, a bit.
Really.
And
Really.
of course, those pills were huge hormone bombs, right? I mean, it's like, like
Yeah.
when I first got lenses, they were like this thick in my eye, pieces of glass. And those first pills are so heavy compared to what it
Well,
is now.
mine were very small. I certainly didn't tell my mother when I was doing it. I was 17 and I had my first boyfriend who I was actually sleeping with. And so I went to our doctor who was very helpful. I mean, he didn't ask me any difficult questions, and he clearly didn't feel the need to tell my parents, which I did worry about. So he just gave them to me, and that was that. And I don't remember them being particularly big. They were in a, God, I remember it so.
No, they were small pills, but they
Oh, I
were,
see. But the
I
actual
mean, loaded with,
yes, I see.
because it was just, still in kind of an experimental stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I kept them on my bedside table because nobody really went into my room. And then I remember one day, my mum said she'd just been in to tidy for me, and I was like, oh my God, no, no. But she never mentioned anything. So I guess she didn't even look or know what they were. So I got away with that. but that, yeah, I certainly wouldn't have. I don't know what her response would have been. Not great, I don't think, if she had found out. But
Yeah, no, my mother cried. My mother
oh
was so
no,
upset, so upset.
gosh,
Yeah.
yeah, and yet yes, I mean, and that's our 50 years, isn't it? And when when my daughters came to the age of needing contraception, I was the first one to say, let's go to the doctor, let's go,
Yeah.
go off. And I mean, not that I was taking them, but please make sure that you're covered.
Yeah, these things have changed. Although I saw on the news the other day that there are, Protestant people really convinced when a girl goes for an abortion. There was this
Oh
young
gosh, yeah.
influencer who went for an abortion, and so she filmed it all her conversations with people who were really convinced that, you're killing, it's murder, you're killing a life, which, yeah, you're killing a potential life. It is true. But what kind of a life, is that when you're too young? So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
And there's no real brain development at that stage either. So it is, as you
yeah, but
say.
are we our brain, or are we a soul incarnating,
Well,
choosing to incarnate with this person?
yes,
That's very
I don't know.
different.
Yeah, no, it's all fascinating. I mean, I have or had Christian friends who could said to me once categorically, "Well, the soul comes into the fetus at 12 weeks." Really? How do you know that? What makes you, anyway, it wasn't an argument I was prepared to pursue, but I
Yeah.
just, people have very, very clear ideas about how they think it
Yeah.
happens. I don't, essentially, but yeah, 50 years. Yeah, 50 years. I mean, it's kind of cyclical, isn't it? I mean, there's so much discussion and things that we thought, well, I certainly thought that when we were young, we'd sort of fought and won for in our youth, in our hippie 1960s, 1970s youth, like, woman's choice, homosexuality, all those sorts of things, smoking, smoking dope, that was all going to, and it's all kind of come round again. And, there is still, the fight goes on, really. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very different now.
Yeah.
I mean, smoking dope is different. I understand that at all these festivals are basically little pills that give people the energy to go on forever and
Oh,
be
there's all sorts.
ecstatic.
Yeah.
And so that's all very, very normal. And although we have this this policy in the Netherlands of kind of condoning, kind of looking through your fingers, like it's illegal, but we don't. When we look like that, we don't really see it,
No,
and
but the
it is
Netherlands,
wonderful. It's a wonderful Dutch way of, doing something officially and still acknowledging that unofficially things happen.
I thought that was all very legal in the Netherlands, that, everybody goes to Amsterdam to,
Yeah, I think the weed thing, but then of course there's still, I mean, the cocaine
oh,
and the crack and
yeah,
all of
no,
that.
no, there's the
I
harm.
have no clue of that. I really have no, it's not my world. I don't know how it works. And even
No,
those pills, I haven't taken any of those.
no, no, me neither, despite being a sort of, I suppose, child of the 60s or 70s. That wasn't something I ever really got into, apart from the odd joint here and there. But even then, it
Yeah.
wasn't a big deal for me. Didn't do
And
anything
for
much.
me, it was I did not feel I was so much part of the fight, but there were just things I found normal, and that as a woman I could open a bank account, I could go to work, I could start a company, I never felt that that was new, but it was new.
But it
But
wasn't new. I mean,
it
yeah,
was very new, but it didn't feel like that to
no,
me.
no, exactly. I suppose I didn't really feel that so much because I was married so early. I wasn't, I wasn't actually, everything I did was really with my husband, so I wasn't in that position. But I mean, it was the mid 1970s, I think, before a woman could open a bank account on her own without a husband. I mean, that, so
Mid
late.
1970s, really.
Yeah, yeah. They were all.
It's shocking. I think in the Netherlands, 1st of January 1956, so I was already a year and a half, the signature of a woman was legalized.
Oh,
Before that, it wasn't. So before that, you couldn't open a bank account because your signature
you
was.
weren't a legal entity.
Yeah, so that was 56. And when I went to study, I so remember that moment, and I do remember that moment, kind of going up the stairs of this student club that I was going to be a member of, and there was a little table with people from a bank, and they said, "Would you need a bank account?" I said, "Oh, that's a good idea." And so there and then I opened a bank account. I have left that bank because at some point I worked a lot. It was my first employer, and I'm eternally grateful for all the opportunities I got there. And they became my biggest client when I started my own company. But then the CEO became a person that I thought was so wrong in his thinking. So I took all my affairs away there. But I still remember that number, my
Wow.
banking number from all those years ago.
Bank account number, how wonderful. Actually, I think I'm talking nonsense here. I don't think it was opening a bank account because you just reminded me that I had a bank account when I was a student and that wasn't.
Yeah.
I think it was a mortgage. I think you couldn't take out a mortgage as a woman on your own until the mid 70s. There's definitely, I think that's what it is. Yeah, not, no.
Oh, wow. I took a mortgage in 1990.
Right. Yeah.
And it never occurred to me that
No.
I wouldn't be able to do that on my own. It didn't, but I love it when, I was talking to this young woman in the tea shop, and there's so many things that are a given to her that yeah, being able to look
Yeah.
back about 50 years or 55 years or 60 years from the moment we got a bit, more overview. It's like so interesting how things have changed and are repeating themselves. And, there's a lot of outcry here. And there was this theme, the night belongs to us for women, because it's more dangerous for women to kind of walk in a park in the evening. And I'm like, that's not new. That was the case when
No.
I was young. And in a way, as a woman, you always have to beware of men.
Yeah.
That's just true. And I don't think that'll ever change. And not all men, but
No,
certain
of course
men
not all.
under,
Yeah. Yeah, no, no, that seems to be unchanging and just sort of kind of turning out in different ways and just being more obvious and less obvious. And
yeah.
yeah,
Of course, there's now
well,
much, much more surveillance. There was no
yeah,
surveillance. There were
yeah,
no
yeah,
cameras anywhere
no,
when we grew up,
no,
ever. So you could just vanish you know, it would never, you'd never know who the person
no,
was because they weren't
no, no,
traceable. I
no,
feel actually it's become much safer, but that's also maybe because I'm older and because nobody
yeah,
carries money anymore.
no, no, that's true. That's true. Yes, I think actually I feel safer for being older. I don't think anybody's, going to hit on me in that kind of way anymore. So, why? So yes, that's a bonus. But it
Yeah,
is
but I
interesting.
think elderly ladies like us would feel unsafe because they would carry money and they would
Yeah.
easily be swept off their feet
Oh,
and their
oh yes,
bags snatched
absolutely.
along. But
Yeah.
now what's in a bag is yeah, maybe some passes, but then basically
Yes.
everything is in your phone and
Oh,
they can't really unlock your phone and then you'll have blocked it anyway or so. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking nonsense and those
oh
robberies are
no,
still
I don't think
happening, but
so.
I don't see them and I don't hear of them and I don't feel I walk by myself through the
Yeah.
anywhere actually.
Well, I suppose I don't go out on my own at night very much. I mean, because I'm in the country.
And
And
you have dogs.
yes, I mean, I genuinely do feel that, walking a dog is a protection. I mean,
Of
sometimes
course it is.
I think when I'm walking around a field and perhaps it's dusk or getting darker and I spot a figure, sort of the other side of the field, there's
Lurking.
like kind of, I wonder who that is. And, my dog would bark a lot, but probably not do anybody any real damage. But yeah, it does. I mean, I think we are always aware of.
Yeah, we're always, yeah, a bit aware, but not overly. Like I'm going to Milan by myself and then Florence and then yeah, Rome I will be with other people. But yeah, I just do that. I have no
Yes, no, that's great. That's wonderful. And I mean, 50 years ago when you were 21, would you have felt any different? Would you have been more careful, worried?
well, no, my mother was a carefree person and I'm raised to be carefree and just do. But I think I was a bit more wary of men. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. But still, yeah, I traveled by myself in India for a month and,
yeah,
never, I
yeah.
think, yeah, I went to places by myself, but it was also the time when you were in flocks,
Yes,
flocks of girls.
that's true. But
Yeah.
also, I mean, there were things like, I mean, I imagine you had it in the Netherlands too, whether you could, I mean, hitchhiking. So,
Yeah.
you would stand by the side of the, I mean, I've
Yeah.
never done this, but you'd stand by the side of the road with your thumb out and just take a
Yeah.
lift from whoever stopped for you, which I don't think many people do anymore.
No, no,
That's a
you don't see
possibility.
that so often anymore. Just rarely. Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't know whether it was more dangerous then or terrible things happened to people and you didn't hear so much about it. It seemed to be part of the free and easy sort of
Yeah. But
70s.
now, of course, I mean, you can put tracking on your phone and,
Yeah,
send it to a friend or your mother or whoever. And then, so there is a lot of, yeah, kind of extra safety there.
yes, yes. And I mean, people are more careful with things like dating, for example, if you meet up with someone on a dating app, you are likely to go to a public place for your
Yeah.
first date and let people know where you are and when you're back and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, not that we had dating apps, but if you went on a first date, then did you?
How did we do it? I mean, we basically dated people we met somewhere in a
Yes,
trusted environment, right? Whether it
yes. So
was
we had
like,
we had met them, but we didn't necessarily know them well.
no, no,
We
yeah.
probably took risks in a different way then.
We did. We lived dangerously and we're still here.
Yes, let's remember that we had a dangerous youth.
Well, in a way, yeah. Well, I don't think, I don't know. Have
No,
I really been in danger? I don't think I've ever really been in danger. And I've done some pretty wild things.
yeah, yeah. I think probably the most physically dangerous thing I ever did was when I was 18, and it was sort of part of my gap year. I went on a sailing trip with a boyfriend and an ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend was there because it was his mother's boat. I mean, it was a very primitive sailing boat, and we sailed. Well, first we sailed over to Holland. We went to Terschelling, the island,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went. Gosh, I can't remember. Went to Germany, and we got as far as Denmark, and then we sailed back again. But we went at one.
Wow.
we sailed, and you know, in the,
That's real high seas. I mean,
yes, it
it's
really was.
serious business.
Yes, it
You have
really
to
was.
navigate, and you have no navigation apps.
No, no, no,
Remember.
no. We had sonar, but yeah, no, it was. And at one point we were crossing the Keeler Canal in a storm, and that's a huge shipping canal.
Yeah.
And so we were, I mean, and it was really, really rough, and it was thunderstorm and raining. It
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
could
And
have
then you
got,
have these huge kind of tankers and container ships.
yeah, yeah. No, it
And
was.
then you are in your little dingy thing
Yes,
with a
exactly.
sail.
With the sail, yes, it was. It was genuinely dangerous, and my mum insisted that, well, to my father, that I be allowed to go because she would have let my brothers go. They would have let my brothers go. So my mum was, no, we're not stopping Lucy just because she's a girl. But really, it was so. I mean, it was so dangerous, and there was, there were no mobile phones. We had to kind of when we kind of went into some kind of harbour, we'd kind of go and look for a phone or send a postcard, and really know what was going on until we got back 6 weeks later and turned up and sailed up the river at Albury and reappeared.
Wow. Wow. Yes. I mean, our parents must have been, worried at
Yeah.
times.
Yes, yes. But then, nobody was expecting to have instant
No.
communication or know where you were all the time. I mean, before it's so hard in a way to think back to those times when there were no mobile phones. You couldn't just message someone. I mean, like when we went to Australia, when, that next year we went in January when I was 21, and I would write home once a week, and we would phone once a month because it was so expensive to make phone calls back to England. But you did feel such a long way away. There was no Zoom, there was no Skype, there was no WhatsApp. Though it was a very kind of long distance, and
It
it was,
was.
yeah, and it was hard for my.
Did your parents come to visit?
Oh, my mother did not.
Not your father. No, no, I would not have expected him, but I thought, let me ask about parents, not only your mother. Let me be
Yes, no,
inclusive here.
yes, no. My mum came quite often because she was doing work for Barnardo's because of all the children who had been shipped off to Australia and New Zealand and actually Canada and America as well, sort of in the late 19th, early 20th century by organisations like Barnardo's, just taken out of the London slums and shipped off to the
So
colonies.
were they taken out of the London slums?
They were
Okay,
literally
so
They were literally taken out. Sometimes their parents weren't told, they didn't know where they were going. They were put on boats and sent out to
to
farm
populate the
or
colony.
populate, yeah, the new world, as it were. And so Mum was involved. She wrote a book called Children of the Empire because she had access when she was the chair of Barnardo's to all these letters that children wrote back and that, the
Heartbreaking.
organization had. So she went off and found the children of, well, some of them at that stage in the late 70s, they were still the children, that where they were still alive, the children who had been actually shipped off and did not know who their roots were, what their roots were, who their parents were, who their families were. It was I mean, I suppose, the people thought they were doing this, the organizations thought they were doing this for the children's benefit, but a lot of them had absolutely terrible times, and they were just taken, really, in many
So
cases.
for the children's benefit, so they would have a better life
So they would have a
than
better
was
life.
ahead of them in
Yeah,
poverty
yeah,
and illness and all of that.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them were living on the streets, in the late 19th century, but still they had families. They had,
Yeah.
they had mothers and presumably fathers, and so yeah, it was a very, yeah.
Yeah, so your mother, your wonderful mother, had work to do there. She came
Yes,
to visit
yes,
you, but she also had it organized, so she had work to do.
yes, exactly, exactly. So she would come and stay with us, and then go off and meet people and do that sort of business. And then they helped us come back to I mean, we were in Australia for 8 years, and I suppose we came back to England for Christmases maybe 3 times during that period too. So yes, but yeah, it was a long way away, and it felt a long way away, much further than it would feel if we did that now.
But has it also been like a liberation for you?
Oh, what, leaving? Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't want to go. We were very excited to go. It was like a whole new, it really felt again like a new world. And yes, absolutely. It was exciting. It was different, and I think it's very good for you to live. I mean, I know it's another English speaking country, but still, I mean, culturally and everything else, it is so different to the UK. So yes, it was a very interesting and exciting time, and yeah, we did this first entrepreneurial thing of madly starting up a theatre magazine almost as soon as we got there, and yeah, that was.
Yeah, and also now, I mean, I live in a world of startups, and there's so many startups, and lots of people, and you can study how to be an entrepreneur. I don't
Yeah,
know if that was even possible when we grew up, or those kinds of studies didn't really
nobody even
exist yet.
used the word entrepreneur then. I don't remember thinking of us as entrepreneurs. We were just sort of theatre enthusiasts, and we had a bit of journalistic experience, and so we just did this thing, but nobody called us entrepreneurs. Nobody said it was a startup. It was just a
Yeah,
crazy thing to do. And,
yeah. No, it's wonderful to be in words. When 30 years ago we started in impact investing, we did not have a word for that too. That only came in 2005 that there was kind of a term coined for this. But before that, we had to kind of circumscribe what we were doing. Yeah.
yeah, you sort of almost have to make your own descriptions.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't till, years and years later when, I started Rethink Press that I kind of entered the world of entrepreneurs, and I saw it was a thing, and that because we also, when we came back to England, well, Rob more than me, because I had small children at that stage, started
No,
another.
he did not have small children at that stage.
No, no, not when we went to Australia.
No, no, no. But you said Rob more than me because not me, I had small
He
children.
had
But I
small
guess
children.
he also had small children, right?
It's true, but we kind of fell into more traditional roles, and
Yeah.
he started a video company, and yeah, so that was another startup and an entrepreneurial thing. But even then, and that was in the 80s, mid to late 80s, nobody talked about being an entrepreneur then, or it being entrepreneurial. It was just.
No, I started my company in 87 or so. I became a freelance in 85, 86, and I started, bought a company, small company from a friend. And then I had all of a sudden an office on Keizersgracht in the center of town, and an employee. And no, I don't think I had my own company. I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you called it,
Yeah.
really.
And
Yes.
and also men found it really attractive. Wow, yes, a woman with her own company. And then, on the first date, they were talking about wanting children and assuming that I would then, give it all up.
Give it
It's
all
like,
up.
huh? You like me because I have my own company, and then
And you want me to give it all up?
what
Extraordinary.
are you thinking?
Yeah, yeah, extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Oh, well, goodness. Well, it's interesting looking back over the 50 years that
Yes.
we've yes, whizzed through once again. So I hope you have a wonderful day today on your 71st. Let's say 71 is the new 21. And,
But very different, with a lot of life experience
a lot
and
of
much
life.
more clarity about who I am and what is mine to do, and still
Absolutely.
yearning after wanting to be an initiator, but feeling I'm a paver of the way.
Well, that's a lovely thing to be.
Yes.
And I hope you have a wonderful paving the way birthday today. Paving the way.
Thank you. So there is a niece calling. I'm gonna take her and see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.